All right, it is 12 p.m. sharp, so we're going to go ahead and get started. You see Charles Yeomans there. He is the chairman and CEO of AtomBeam. Charles, thanks for joining us here. We're here in the Arrive AI headquarters in Fishers, Indiana. Charles, where are you? You're muted.
But it's functionally where I work more often than not. So
We missed the
anyway,
first
I'm in
part.
Orinda, California, which is just a little east of San Francisco.
All right. Dan, born and bred here in Indiana?
Born in Chicago.
Chicago, okay.
But here in Indy.
And Charles, thanks again for joining us. This is a really exciting day, kind of two forward-thinking AI companies in a complementary space to where we see a lot of potential for partnerships and exciting things to help each other grow the future of technology. So Arrive AI in a product and logistics space, and then AtomBeam in a data space that provides a lot of opportunity for growth. So Charles, we'll let you take the floor, kind of introduce to Arrive AI's viewers here who you are, what your company is, and what's ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So just really quickly on me. So I'm been sort of more kind of in a technology space for quite a while as on the management side. Before that, I was a banker, Wall Street banker, and before that, a Navy intelligence guy. And all those sort of come together for us, and sort of I'm using all of that because we do a lot of DoD stuff as well as technology, as well as managing and so forth. But if it's most helpful, I'll just spin up a quick deck and be able to sort of walk you through what we do. So one second here. Okay. So we are, again, we're a technology company. We're a platform technology, which really boils down to what we do is more or less things that make data more efficient and apply to almost everything. And so I'll walk you through that, but quickly on who we are and what, the company is like. So we have had about 7 contracts with DoD. We've got about 3 of them right now that are active. We've raised about 20 million. We're doing a raise right now on Start Engine for anyone who's interested. Gets the highest King's Crowd rating, I think, of any Reg A that's ever been done. We have a lot of patents, and there's about 40 people on the team right now. And we are partnering with a bunch of pretty major companies who have pretty strong interest in working actively with us on this technology. But let me talk to you about what the technology is. So basically, we have three products, but one of them is already in the world now as a release product. And I'm going to talk about that one principally here. So since digital computers were invented, the way data works is you sort of take something that's written for humans, and that's the thing up there you see that this gadget that measures pool stuff generates. And so you know what that time is, and you can read what the channel is, etc. And all that just gets translated into binary. But in our view, that is really inefficient. And the reason is that a computer can do a lot of repetitive tasks really fast, way faster than humans. And so historically, the way data has worked has been dramatically underutilizing, in our view, how computers can make that data much more informationally dense. That is, take a lot of that information and pack it down to a lot smaller form. But to a computer, it's perfectly usable, and just like it would be if, for us, we were reading that top line there. So in the way we do this, fundamentally, is we make a little bit of data represent a lot of data. And that's the concept of a code word. So if you have code words in a code book, and all these little code words are representing much bigger chunks, in this case, 4 bits representing 128, then that effectively means that this data the data that the computer can look at, that is to say, in this case, 0101, instantly, in essentially a few millionths of a second, it can recognize that as the 128 behind it. And that's the magic of what we're doing. And it involves, machine learning and all this stuff. But I don't want to go into that here. I want to talk about what the effect is. But first, I want to talk about what is done right now and why we think it's inefficient. So what happens right now is all these little sensors feed data into a gateway or some other central point, like a modem or something. And it all goes into this gateway. And then the gateway typically won't encrypt it. They can a lot of times, but a lot of times they turn it off. But at any rate, and then it sends it over whatever the network is, cellular, satellite, whatever, and it goes to the data center. And the whole time, what's happening is, okay, if it's encrypting it, it encrypts it. It gets sent full-sized over to the data center, and then the data center decrypts it, and then it compresses it, and then it stores it. It's a lot of extra stuff that it has to do. And here's a key point. 98% of data has no security. Therefore, it's kind of a really big deal that all this data, is out there that is totally vulnerable to someone taking it over. And so you have a lot of data and it's clogging the links. The networks are vulnerable. There's a lot of computing involved with encrypting, decrypting, compressing, decompressing. And it's also vulnerable when it gets to the data center if someone steals it. And so we took a whole different look at this thing. And we said, okay, what if at the very edge, in these little gadgets on the edge, we could encode it in a way that made it 75% smaller and it encrypts it at the same time. And it does it on a 10-cent processor. You don't need a lot of horsepower. So right from the very edge, all this data is getting encrypted and reduced in size, which means that, in effect, this whole network, right from the very edge, is both way more efficient, 4 times more effective bandwidth, and it's also encrypted. And then when it hits the data center, you're not decrypting, you're not decoding, you're not compressing it, you just store it. And then once it's stored, we can apply, because of the way we do this, it's searchable and randomly accessible, unlike compressed data, which is hard to go into here, but that is a major thing, because trying to find the data you're looking for in a big data center is tough. But we fix all that. And it takes out a lot of the computing. There's no encrypting, decrypting. Well, there's encrypting, but it's really light and fast. But there's no decrypting, there's no compressing, there's no decompressing, there's no messing around. It just goes straight into the data center and gets stored. This is, we think, the future of the way data is going to work. So what does this mean? This means that there's 4 times more capacity in the links. The data is encrypted and it's reduced in size, compacted, we call it, at the source, not somewhere along the line or never. And we are eliminating a lot of the added computing, which eliminates a lot of the power use. And once the data gets to the data center, it's already small, so you just store it. And it's encrypted too, so if somebody steals the data, they can't do anything with it. They can't get at it because they don't have the associated code book that was used to encode the data. So here's a real world. So Viasat's one of our partners. And so what is going on here is we have an oil company they want to send a bunch of data a day. They couldn't get it over a satellite, not enough capacity. So we reduced the data, and this is the initial graph. It shows 68%. We ended up with 76%. And it all happens in like 2 minutes. I mean, from the moment you turn it on, 2 minutes later, you're reducing data 76%, which means they're sending 4 times more data, which means that they're taking that 13.6 and reducing it to about 3.3, which is they're over the moon. They're so excited about it. And there's lots and lots of opportunities like this. And so what we do then there is reduce the data. And we do it here in this not released yet capability we call NERCOM, which applies a neural net AI. This is a way different thing, right? It applies a neural net AI to a video codec and makes the video codec, in effect, twice as effective. And this is being worked on with the Air Force right now, the Air Force Research Laboratory, and they're excited about it, and they're pushing us to get this into their systems so that they can use satellites to send more data, more images, because we basically will double the number of images you can get out of a given system. And just mention just quickly, we have taken all these two technologies, NERPAC, the first one I talked about, and NERCOM, the one that does images, and have used the capability there to drive to drive a lot of more efficiency in a generative AI. So this is kind of like a ChatGPT type thing, but we're starting with concentrated data, much more informationally dense, which reduces potentially as much as 50% the amount of training time. It also makes it fully multimodal, which means that it can take in data from any source. And because it's not dependent on language, like large language models translate everything to language, and we don't have to do that. So all these things mean that this LCM can be a really interesting, efficient thing that can work on the edge. That is to say, in a little device like a UAV or an airplane, and it can operate on any data as it's fed in. So this could be a really big deal. The other really big deal is saving the power, which you probably read about is a huge problem for the giant LLMs that are out there. So this is a potential breakthrough here. So when you put it all together, you would say, okay, you got all this data getting generated at the edge. We take the little pipe and we quadruple the size of it, and we send 4 times more data over to the other side. It gets to either the edge device or to the cloud and these big computers and data centers. And then now, because we can use this densified data and we can look at it and use it while it's still encoded, the LCM can take advantage of the whole thing. So that's the new ecosystem as we see it. And just quickly on what our business model is, what we do is we charge on the basis of the number of connections. So if you have something in the field that's is generating data, we can put ourselves in that thing, our technologies, and we can charge $10 to $300 per connection, depends on how much. And it could conceivably be more in many situations, but that's probably a reasonable middle ground for what we do. And we sell through our partners. Ericsson is a big one, Viasat. Those are where, those guys see it as, okay, I've got a bunch of very expensive satellites. How do I get them to send more data? We can give them 4 times more capacity. Ericsson could say for their gateways, how do I get my gateways to be better than anybody else's? Well, that's how you do it. So what we need, though, to do all this is we need a set of people who really know what they're doing. We have a lot of really, really experienced people here, and 2 of them are on the call with us right now. Pam Dodge, she's our VP of Marketing, super experienced, super knows what she's doing. And the same with Julian, who comes to us, who was the VP of Product for Inmarsat, and he was also with AWS and Amadeus. And we have a really, really strong, distinguished group of people who know what they're doing. Just quickly on what I just went through, we believe will be game-changing technology that is going to make data everywhere and everything, including in computers, including between computers, much more efficient and more secure. We have significant contracts, lots of patents, and right now we're raising 20 mil, and it'll be a combination of a Reg D, but also on in a Reg A on Start Engine. So if you're interested, by all means, stop by and give us a the opportunity to bring in to the fold as an investor. So there you go.
Charles, thank you. It's impressive how you're able to make such a complicated product understandable. So I know that's not easy, and you've done an amazing job at that. It's impressive what you're doing, and it's clear to see how it definitely can migrate into our capabilities here at Arrive. And just anybody joining right now, you can ask some questions in the chat, keep that conversation going. We have our Chief Strategy Officer, CSO, Nirav Shah, on the chat answering those questions. And then for any that don't go answered, we're also going to have a Q&A for a few minutes at the end if we have time, which I'm guessing that we're going to have plenty for that. So stay tuned. Now, Dan, we're going to get into Arrive AI, what we are here. And I'm Kylie, by the way. I didn't even introduce myself at the beginning, but I'm marketing here at Arrive AI and excited to be a part of this today. So Dan O'Toole, Chairman and CEO here, take it away.
Thanks for being here, Kylie. Charles, great having you join us. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
And thanks to all of our investors and anybody interested in either of our companies. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate that. Got to know Charles. We're both young, burgeoning companies in this new, exciting AI space, and we kind of share a lot of common ground, and we think there's a big opportunity to collaborate. So we wanted to bring AtomBeam into the fold of Arrive and kind of expose what they're doing to all of you guys, so you can be a part of what we're all looking to do together. I think there's a big intersection where we're going to be working closely with AtomBeam, and we always want to bring our investors into the fold and on what we're doing. And I always say we want to be the company that we want to invest in, so you hear everything here first. When we first started here at Arrive, talking about gathering data and harvesting all kinds of metrics at the street level, getting broadband and bandwidth is a big challenge. We started out looking at LoRaWAN and some of the other technologies out there, and how expensive it is to really garner that data. And being able to work with a company like AtomBeam really makes the quality of what we can get so much better, faster, more data centric, and it also reduces the cost substantially. So there's a lot of synergies that we're going to be able to attain working with AtomBeam. So if you've invested in Arrive and you're looking for another great opportunity, I would have you look at AtomBeam. And if you're an AtomBeam investor, hopefully you'll take a look at Arrive too, and hopefully Charles will sanction that too. So
of course.
Appreciate that. One of the things I do want to say, forward-looking statements, what we talk about in these webinars, there's no guarantee of any kind of monetary return, all the boilerplate stuff. I invite you to read that. On the Arrive side, Arrive AI, we look at investing in our company as a pre-IPO opportunity. We are looking to be on the NASDAQ this quarter of this year. We're very close in discussions with the SEC and NASDAQ right now, and we'll keep you posted. I know everybody wants to know the date we go live, as do we, and as you know, these things are always fluid. So as soon as we know that, all of our shareholders will know that in the same moment. So stay tuned, and we appreciate your excitement around that. What else we got, Kylie?
Let's talk about what Arrive AI is. So we have a physical product, but there's a lot of AI surrounding it, which is kind of the unseen hero within and behind Arrive AI, right? It's it's an AI-powered autonomous delivery network.
Absolutely. I know, Charles, you mentioned you're a platform company, and we too are a platform company. We love the platform business. We say when you work with Arrive AI, you get a platform and a network. 6 of the top companies in the world are platform companies. And a lot of people in what we're doing are thinking about, just myopically, and by that I mean I don't want to say short-sighted and demean anybody, but the thing that astounds us here at Arrive, we always think about the big picture, and some of the people or businesses we see out there iterating in the space have not thought about delivery beyond themselves. In this crazy, hurried world that we're all living in today, there's so much more going on, and there's a lot of scheduling and different outcomes that need to be considered when you're looking at the big picture of the last mile logistics. So we've taken it to the next level, and I think that we always say that every delivery will start or end at an arrive point. We really believe that. Arrive is the gateway to every home and business throughout the world. We have that little piece of real estate that we control through our IP. In fact, we got some great news yesterday, Kylie.
Huge news. We can go to the next slide because we've got a little bit of background. So like AtomBeam, Arrive AI also has several patents, and yesterday was a huge win for us as well.
Absolutely. We just got a notification that our fourth patent issued yesterday. We actually have 6 patents, now 7 domestic U.S. Utility patents. When we say our fourth patent issued, we did acquire a couple patents when we purchased Airbox at the beginning of the year. But of our own organic patents, our fourth one just issued yesterday. Been a couple years in the making, and it gives us the heated and cooled that we've been talking about for quite a while. The patent has been pending and it issued yesterday, so that's a big get for us. It really continues to build a moat around everything that we're doing here at Arrive AI, and it makes the intrinsic value of the company so much greater when you can add great IP like that. So in addition to the 6 patents that we now have, we're also extending our U.S. patents to the world to 25 of the most industrialized countries, and that's all midstream right now. So we continue to iterate every day. Every time we have a new learning that we can turn into IP with our development, we do that. We're dedicated to a long life cycle of extending our patent life because we feel like that is the moat that we have here, and that's a big edge for us here at Arrive AI.
And you're seeing this slide. It's a snapshot of Arrive's history starting 10 years ago, 2014. So that was when the first patent was filed. You can kind of follow the journey here. It's a lot to take in. As you can imagine, a lot of things happened over 10 years to get where we are today on our 3rd generation of Arrive Point, starting some pilots and some case studies as we speak. So that's really exciting. We'll also get into more of the AI component of how our Arrive Points work, kind of anchoring that space. But we have a few other slides to get to, one of which is also similar to AtomBeam, the lowering of costs.
Yep, absolutely. If anybody knows Kathy Wood, ARK Invest, it's a big research investor company out there, and they've done a deep dive into the last mile logistics space. And you can see here the savings that are set to happen in the autonomous delivery last mile that's taking off right now. So between robots, unmanned driverless vehicles, aerial drones, the change that you're going to see. I always say better, faster, fresher, cheaper, greener, safer. Those are all elements, but all those costs that are going to be saved. There's so many byproducts of what we're doing that taking vehicles off the road, reducing pollution. For every 1% of deliveries to an Arrive point, we take 3,000 trucks off the road right here in the U.S. alone. And then you've got all the different byproducts of that. Less road repairs, less traffic, less accidents, less deaths, lower insurance costs. It just goes on and on. So, and then you're going to get a better outcome at the end of the day. So, we're just really excited about where we're going and how the market is growing around us. As Charles is raising right now on Start Engine, I know a lot of you participated when we were on Start Engine. Currently, we're on pickmecrowdfunding.com. Our raise just reopened here, intra call actually. We did a hard stop on our raise. We had some things that we changed our offering just to bring you up to speed. Our minimum went from $300 to $1,000. Our share price just went from $304 to $325 a share, so it's a 6% increase. And that's just kind of getting ready for our IPO on NASDAQ and kind of aligning with where we think our valuation is and things like that. So very excited. I appreciate everybody that's been with us. If you've even considered us, really appreciate that. We can go on to the next slide here.
Yeah, so the next one is going to talk more about the AI component and a phrase that you coined, Dan.
Yeah, I love that phrase. I've heard that somewhere. You can't spell Arrive without AI. We do have the trademark on that, so you can't use it.
I can. I do marketing, so it's fine.
Yes, you can. So, but you can see here, there's just a lot of different ways that we're thinking about AI, how to leverage that. We're anonymizing data. We're not selling data. We're selling data insights, which are going to make your life better and easier. In fact, we are very caring about privacy and how we treat our customers. We're not, a lot of times if you sign a user agreement, you're just surrendering all of your data without any, question. With us, you'll have the option to either allow the sharing of your data or not. If you decide to share your data, it's a trade. We're going to give you great features like our new heated and cooled cargo area, right, that we just got our patent on, and notifications, charging station, reverse logistics, emergency light feature. I think a lot of you already know what we've got, but if you share that, we're going to give you those. If you decide not to share, we respect that, but we think that there's going to be a lot of great conveniences that arise out of being able to have access to that data. And we think that the world of tomorrow is actually today, and you're going to see all these great things starting to happen very quickly. As we go public, it's going to open up a lot of doors. What we are doing is very capital intensive, and we're relying on access to the public capital markets to facilitate those expenditures. And then just having the gravitas of being a public company on the NASDAQ is going to open up a lot of doors for us. So we're really excited. We're right at the front door step of making this happen, and you guys are all a big part of it, so thank you.
And Dan, talk about how we also operate on the edge, and so we have AI within our Arrive points, which are kind of brains and computers of their own, right? And then we also have a cloud service that will optimize this information.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up, Kylie. So, in fact, using AtomBeam is going to really help us, cloud or computing at the edge and doing all the AI calculations is a lot more expensive than doing it in the cloud. And be able to streamline data, move it faster in more detail is going to actually provide a greater user experience at a lower cost. So these are some of the outcomes that we see in dealing with AtomBeam, and this is why we wanted to kind of share them with the world today and let you guys know, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and some of the great partners that we're working with.
And really quickly, to just expand on the heating and cooling element, you might just be thinking of food deliveries or things that are of utmost importance for our convenience, right? But there are so many other use cases that this is crucial. One being healthcare and the chain of custody that we bring to it, but also the heating and cooling element to keep medicines viable, to keep things not expiring, and again, that's cost savings, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to open up delivery for so many things that were never really able to be delivered, autonomously in the past. As you said, healthcare is a big thing. Lab samples, all those kind of things, and then food obviously is something that everybody thinks.
You want your pizza warm when you get home.
That's right. And you're going to be able to do things you never thought of. It's going to change your life, really. When you fast forward not too far in the future here, it's going to be like your cell phone. How did you, like for me, if I went out late at night when I was like in high school or something, I'd come home, my mom would be waiting up because she didn't have a phone, she didn't know where I was. But now you could track your kids, where they are. Your cell phone, you never leave home without it. So this is going to be a fabric of your life. You're not going to have to go to Kohl's anymore to return things, or the UPS store. I call it a UPS store at your door. You can do everything right there. It's going to be easy and fun. And there's so many use cases that haven't even been thought of yet. That's really the biggest crazy part about it. There's more that we haven't thought about than we have. So new ideas every day, trying to patent all those, trying to put all this functionality into this great little Arrive point that is going to be the fabric of your life as we go forward.
And finally, just a quick slide of the team, because we talk about all the time how cohesiveness and a good team is so important.
Yeah, I always say you could have the greatest IP in the world, best idea, whatever it is, but if you don't have a world-class team to execute, you really don't have anything. And that's what I'm so fond of here at this company. Not only we have great investors, and I love the interaction that I have every week with you guys, and I sincerely appreciate that. But when you don't have to be the impetus of every meeting in your own company, when you're not the guy that makes every decision, when you can sit in the room, listen to everybody, and really weigh it out. That's what it's about. I always say everyone is expendable, even me, and I really believe that this company would perpetuate itself very successfully without me. I hope that doesn't happen. I want to be here, but I love our team. I love the enthusiasm, the passion. It's the most fun culture that I've ever worked around. The same way I say I always want this to be the company I would want to invest in. Do you answer the phone when you call? Do you get information? Not just being there when we're trying to raise money, but before, during, and after. I also want to be the boss that I would want to work for. So if you can cut out early on a Friday, whatever, go have some fun. Let's have as much fun as we work hard. So those are the things that are really important to keep it really fresh. So having fun.
Yeah, and I know we touched on kind of the synchronicities between our two companies a little bit already, but Atombeam put together this wonderful slide just showing a visual of how we'll work together. So Charles, if you want to talk about the Atombeam component and how the information goes back and forth.
Sure. So, fundamentally what we're doing, as I mentioned earlier, is we're taking pretty much in real time data messages. So these little gadgets on the edge, including anything that Arrive AI has, like a drone that is pumping out a lot of information and sending it over a network. There's a couple of things going on there. One is that the 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 amount of data a lot of times is more than you can send over a given link. The other big thing is it costs money to send things over links. And so what we can do is just with a little software upgrade, and the big deal here is that we're not saying, okay, you got to add this box to whatever it is you got. I mean, instead, it's a little software upgrade that sits in a little container, it's called, and it pushes and it takes in the little message that's generated. You can't use compression on this, just to be clear. Those are too small, those messages, for compression to work. So it takes in the little message, swaps out the contents of it for these little code words that I mentioned before, and then hands it off again. And then whatever you're using to transmit the data transmits it. And then on the other end, it gets to a cloud, in this case, our cloud, and we take that data and we translate it back into the original form after it's arrived at the data center and hand it off back to Arrive AI. And the whole thing takes a few milliseconds, a few thousandths of a second. So the net is that because we're reducing the size of these datagrams by swapping out the contents for code words about 75% on average, it's not unusual to get better, but call it 75%. That means that Arrive AI can say, I can send 4 times more data. I don't have to worry about constraining myself on this or that. And I'm not paying any penalty for doing it. I don't have to add any hardware. I don't have to suffer a lot of latency lag or anything. And it's just sitting there in its little thing, in its little container, doing its thing and changing the world for a lot of, it's hard to get across the idea. You got to think about this. In next year, 90 zettabytes of data is going to be generated by IoT devices. And the entire storage capacity of the world in data centers is about 2.5 zettabytes. And the capacity of networks is less than 1% of of that 90 zettabytes. And so it's a gigantic issue, and it will make Arrive AI's stuff better because it's going to know more. It's going to be able to send more. And so the idea is don't make it cost a lot. Just give you the tools that you need, and you will be able to do a lot more for your customers because you're going to have more information.
Absolutely. I mean, we have, again, the smart mailboxes and these arrive points, there'll be a camera and they'll be capturing all of these images and video that would be so much more efficiently analyzed and used for those future corrective moments or improvements upon people's habits or the things that they like out of conveniences, keeping neighborhoods safe, that sort of thing. And so AtomBeam would be crucial in that component, getting that information stored, keep it encrypted, which is great. People, we can't emphasize that enough, how secure this data encryption will be. So that's really exciting. Dan, do you have any last words on this?
Yeah, and I just want to say for a lot of our guys that are watching, check out AtomBeam.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say, if you're an investor in Arrive, whether you came in as Drone Deck or Arrive AI, the shares are all the same. They're all pro rata. There's no preference. They're all common shares with voting rights, same shares that I have. Everyone will know the disposition of your shares before we go public, and we'll give you the opportunity to have those in your trading account, whomever you deal with. And we're going to make sure everyone knows that in a good amount of time. This is a question that I think we get asked a lot. I wanted to take this opportunity, and we don't know what price we're going to come at. We don't know the date yet, but I know those are the same questions that we want to know the answers to. So we're working every day to get those. As soon as we get them, we'll get it to you immediately, right? Through all our social channels and email, contact, and things like that. Arrive AI, Pick Me, crowdfunding, our offering is reopened right now. $3.25 a share. I'd love to have you guys come in pre-IPO right now if you're interested in that. I'd also invite you to check out AtomBeam on Start Engine. I think we have a link probably available here.
Yeah, our last slide will have the actual link spelled out for you. But also, if you were to Google AtomBeam and Start Engine, it'll pop up. You'll find it.
Yeah,
Same with
for
Arrive
sure.
AI,
Right.
Pick Me, and we've all been there. So if you Google Arrive AI and Pick Me crowdfunding, it'll pop up. But we do have the actual web addresses here at the very end. Charles, we do have a question for you from Tim. Tim from Wisconsin. Does AtomBeam do anything with NVIDIA?
Yes. So we're a partner, and I can't talk about some of the stuff that's going on, but it's at an extremely high level with NVIDIA. I mean, so one thing I didn't go into here is like our impact on chips. So we actually even have a patent on this. So chips have little subsystems that they move data back and forth. And because the AtomBeam, the NURPAC algorithm is so light and fast, you could actually put it on a chip and have this little subsystem talk to that little subsystem, which means that a lot of the stuff that slows down a chip can be speeded up. And there's these things called chiplets, that little bits of little small chips that talk to each other, and getting those to communicate faster is a big deal. And even on a data board on a logic board between different chips. So I can't go into that, but it's a very high interest level.
Okay, and kind of following up here, Jim just asked, depending on how much data we're talking about, the code words might get as large as the original data. No?
No. Well, you could see a circumstance in which that would be the true, but that would only be if you have really high entropy data, which means that if you're talking about like something like so NURPAC is a lossless way of reducing the size of data. It translates it into code words and then restores it exactly as it was. And so if you're talking about something that's super, super random, like an image, most images, then you're not going to see much reduction in the absolute size of it, just because, there are so many patterns in it that it doesn't really work to have. Sorry, that's me.
That's an investor.
So, anyway, there's no way you could do it on a lossless basis, any kind of compression or something. That's why we have NERCOM, because you've got to be able to do that for images too. And the images throw out, like a typical codec, video codec will throw out 99.5% of the data or something like throw it out or reduce the size of it and all that stuff. But most of it is throwing out data. So, at any rate, so the net is, yes, they're right that there are circumstances in which that would be true, but it's not for the typical IoT data at all. I mean, that's 75% pretty much across the board on average.
Okay. Dan, this question's for you. Brian is asking about FAA approval of drone delivery.
Yep.
We know that there have been new approvals as of late, specifically in Texas.
Okay. Right. You said the FCC there. I see it would be the FAA.
FAA, yeah.
Yeah, they're reducing restrictions right now every day. There's a lot of granted opportunities that they've given waivers on right now throughout the country. Northern Texas is a big example of that. FedEx, Amazon, UPS, all the major players are there right now. Google, Ling, others. And so that's an exciting hub spot that's kind of developing right now. And we're excited about that space ourselves. So stay tuned on that. Hopefully we'll have some big announcements later this year.
There are some common misconceptions, I think, with the security of drone deliveries and that sort of thing, and taking up the airspace. We were talking about this earlier this week, kind of dispelling some of those misconceptions.
Right. Christiansburg, Virginia, I think you're talking about like the noise of a drone specifically. I always want to say this. I used to say we're not the drone, we're the drone deck. We're not drone deck anymore. But Arrive AI, we're the universal access point. But drone technology has come a long way. There's companies that their main mission is just to make the sound go away, go out there, to be very stealthy. And I think that's just going to happen very quickly. This notion of people shooting down drones and things like that, that's all federally protected, just like an airplane, actually. You don't see people out shooting down planes and things, and everybody wants to talk a tough game and all that, but I just don't see that really being a big deal. You're going to have an accident here and there, just like you do with a UPS or a FedEx truck or whatever, right? But things will happen, but it'll all kind of disappear into the ambient. You're not going to be thinking about it. When you first start seeing these things happen, it's more of a novelty and it's really cool, and you're checking it out. I know Christiansburg, Virginia, a lot of people order drone deliveries because they want to see the drone come in. People are ordering multiple times a day, but it'll be commonplace very soon, and you're just going to get a better quality of life from it.
And Charles, there's a follow-up from Jim in regards to the code. He says, how do you keep the mapping of code words to data secret?
That's the secret.
So that's a good question. So what's happening is I have turned off my phone. I swear to God. So at any rate, so what's going on here is so what you're doing is you're taking a data sample, and the sample is operated on by our codebook generator. Codebook generator looks at this big data sample, thousands of these little messages, and looks at them to say, okay, the most efficient, data pattern size might be 128 bits or 64. Builds a codebook using machine learning to look through all these things and find that. Builds these codebooks. And once a codebook is built, then now you have a bunch of code words associated in each case with a pattern. So now that can be kept in a separate place, or that actual codebook can be encrypted. So if it's sitting out on some gadget in the field, so you can encrypt the codebook, but it can still be accessed by the gadget. So the net is that you can keep, so long as the codebook is kept in a place that's separate or it's encrypted, then that's how you keep that separate. And then the whole thing of encrypting is a super mathematical thing. But the cool thing is it doesn't take any more. It reduces the data just about as much. So instead of 75, it might get 73% or something. So anyway, so what I'm saying is that you could encrypt the codebook, or if it's in the data center, you're just not keeping it in the same drive as you're keeping everything, all the data. That's what it comes out to.
Hopefully that answered your question, Jim. Just if you have any other follow-ups, put them there
Yeah,
in the chat
if it
for
doesn't,
those.
right, if I missed it.
In the mean, and yeah, while he's thinking of that follow-up, Dan, just for people watching, the investors who are getting ready for the public listing, what do we know that can help them kind of prepare as far as how do I get my shares that I purchased on this crowdfunding site into the NASDAQ?
Yeah, I would say don't worry. I think the biggest thing is just making sure that we have your contact information. If anything's changed, your email, your phone number, any of that, your address. If that's happened, then we probably can't reach you. So it would be good to get that updated information. But, everything's happening behind the scenes. Everything's audited. It's all, there's a chain of custody all along the way. We know every dime that came in, who, how many shares you have, where you got them. And we'll be consolidating all that and coming to you. I don't want anybody to feel frantic about being left behind. That's not going to happen. Just make sure, it might be a good exercise just to send your information to info@arriveai.com.
Or subscribe, if you can subscribe to our newsletter, all of these info, that's a good way of doing it. Investor relations, info@arriveai.com or investorrelations@arriveai.com. Or if you sign up for our newsletter, we can make sure that we're getting all of that information out to everybody.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just really don't want anybody, I know there's a lot of, people are kind of frantic, we're all excited, right? I don't want anybody to feel that you're being left behind, because we won't leave anyone behind. You're going to be great. And if my mom and my wife are out there watching, I've got 2 people. I love you guys. I've got to throw that out. So there you go, Kylie.
Well done.
Thank you.
You won't be on the couch tonight. Good job.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, do you have any last thoughts before we adjourn today?
Just that, I think that the need for that Arrive AI has for our stuff, and from our side, the applicability of our approach to what Arrive AI is doing is really a perfect combination. I mean, what you're doing is a classic thing in which you can see an enhancement in how you provide a service to your customers, and just we're kind of the technology in the background. You're the guys actually bringing it to the customers. We're just making it a little better, and so I think this is a really good partnership here that we can both benefit a lot from.
Awesome.
Yeah, great. Hey, thanks for joining, everybody. Kylie, thanks for hosting. Charles, great seeing you. Everybody that joined, really appreciate it. You guys know how to reach me if you want.
We can answer this one really quick. Well, it depends on how fast you can plan.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that, Tim. One of our things is we have 5,500 investors right now. We would love nothing more than every one of you guys to join us in New York when we ring the bell. It's going to be, I call Arrive AI a We the People story, right? So I want everybody wearing your bright green swag.
We're going to have swag there, yeah.
And, we can't pay your trips because that wouldn't be a good fiduciary thing to do with the shareholder money, but we'd love to have everybody join us. We're going to have a big party, and we're going to give as much notice. When we have the ability, when we know the day, one of the things that's really important to me is ringing the bell on the same day we start trading. And that might actually cost us potentially a couple weeks or something and go in public. But I think because of our story, I think it's important that we ring the bell the day we go public. So that'll give us more time to give everybody the details and hope that everyone can join us out there. That will be really important to us.
All right, well, Charles, thanks again. We really appreciate your time and look forward to hopefully doing this again down the road. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, appreciate it. And thanks for inviting me.
Charles.
And
thanks, Pam. Thanks to our team, all of our Arrive AI employees and investors. Love you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's, if you want to jot down these web addresses, as soon as we really say goodbye, we'll pull up a slide that has all of that for you. There it is. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Screenshot that if you want, guys. If you want to screenshot that, we'll leave it up there for a second.
Yeah, let's drag it out a little bit.
Yeah. It'll be up up there all day.
Hey,
Right,
I
right.
just want to say this: if you're an Arrive AI investor, we're trying to catch up to these guys. So,
It's a
so it's
competition now.
let's go.
Hey, what's on the
All
line
right.
here? We gotta place a bet. What
I
are we
don't know
getting?
if we want to bet because he's beating us by quite a bit.
That's
Well,
awesome. All
well.
right. Thanks again, Charles.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Look for the replay on this, guys. It'll be on all of our socials. Thanks,
YouTube,
everybody.
yep, all of